So if I would have told you 5 years ago that you were going to play basketball at Kentucky or at a big-time school, what would you have said?
I could see this happening. It's always been a dream of mine, and I've always believed that I could achieve many things, and I would have told you that.
SGA is putting on a show here in the first half. Just doing a little bit. Oh, Shea just glued him to the floor, and SGA once again.
This is the next team. This is probably, of these three, it's probably our favorite.
Both of us, I can agree on that.
And we love them all.
We've talked about them like all season.
Yeah.
We've actually like just randomly just talked about them. So
And so this team goes from 10th last year, play-in game. They lose to the Timberwolves, which is ironic. We're going to talk about them next.
And they're both 1-2 this season.
And they're both 1-2. So here's OKC.
Both 1-2.
Second seed, massive jump in the standings.
Insane.
And if I read you these things without telling you the name that it's OKC, what would you think of this team's like projection, like end of season? What would you expect from them? 4th in offense, 4th in defense, 3rd in assist to turnover ratio, 3rd in steals, they're 1st in blocks, they're 2nd in 3-point percentage, they're 1st in deflections. So they're basically like top 5 in everything.
That's Shea right there.
Yeah, and Chet and Jake and J-Dub.
J Will, bro.
So if I give you those numbers, you would think
they're contender all the way.
Yeah,
like those are numbers. Like I said, as a coach, as a former player, like offense will win you games, defense will win you championships.
Yeah,
and they got both at a very elite level. And
they do
for being again such a young team
and a small team. Technically,
outside of Chet.
Technically,
outside of Chet, Shea's a big guard. But
look at their 5-man lineup.
J Will is like J-Dub's about 6'5", 6 maybe. 6'6".
I don't have his height. I think he might be like 6'5",
6'5", 6'6". Shea 6'6".
And this is their main lineup from all these games: Shea, J-Dub, Dort, Chet, and Giddey.
Dort 6'4".
Yeah, but
he's built like the Hulk,
built like a tank. And these dudes are technically small, relatively.
Honestly, might be the hardest nickname ever, the Dorture Chamber.
The Dorture Chamber, that's a dope name.
That's one of the finest nicknames ever.
Yeah, and this team, they are so good on defense. And when you watch them play, it's like
that started with Dort.
It probably started with
when
Dort.
Chris Paul was there and Shea was his backup.
When he was guarding Harden in that series as well.
Dort, like that season, because he was really the main defender on everyone, and it kind of just trickled down because he's like, again, he's coming up with them boys.
Yeah.
So, growing up, and, kind of building that teammate chemistry and that brotherhood, it's just like, damn, he doing it, let's do it too. Like, and Shea is a superstar, but he doesn't have that superstar attitude and cockiness. Like, he wants his team to eat.
Yeah.
So when his team is doing something, he going to follow through.
Yeah.
That's a real leader.
For sure. Agreed. Agreed on that. And you know what I love about this team? They are so deep, first of all.
Yeah.
And
one through, like, I think
you
9,
can think of like
9, 10 deep sometimes.
Dude, the crazy thing about this team is you can mess around with the lineups blindfolded. And you have a plus.
And they will produce.
You have a plus on plus minus. Like, just the team is so deep that, like, anyone you put out there, they can all put the ball on the ground. They can all get to the rim.
The other J Will too.
They're team players. Yeah, the center, J Will.
The other J Will. Yeah, I'm saying the other J Will.
One's J Dub. J Dub is the guard,
and
J Will is the center. But like this team is just, they play so selfishly, and it's so interesting because they're small. I think they're unselfish. Yeah. They're like 28th in rebounding. That's like their biggest flaw,
of course,
right? And yet they protect the paint so well.
Yeah.
Because when you watch them, they're collapsing hard immediately on drives.
Have to.
And they get so many deflections. Like I said, they're first in deflections.
They're short, but their wingspans.
That's true.
Long wingspans.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true.
Like Shea's wingspan is probably like 6'9".
I don't know what his wingspan is.
His wingspan is long, bro.
Yeah.
Dort, same thing.
Chet, obviously there.
Yeah, bro. I mean that one. Like, so, like they
Giddey's pretty sizable.
He's 6'7", probably with like a
Giddey's. I think
like
so.
a 6'9" wingspan, same thing like that.
Yeah.
So, and he gets deflections too.
Yeah.
And he's another one who can run an offense.
He could definitely run an offense.
He's a hybrid player.
Yeah. And if you go on like Reddit and YouTube and pods, a lot of people they're talking like trade Giddey while he's valuable. Bring someone here. They're talking about get rid of him. And I'm thinking he might be the odd man out in terms of like their 5 because of the defensive liability and the shooting.
But then he can come off the bench.
But he can, exactly.
And he could be like that Harden role.
Yeah. Or even my comp to Josh Giddey is like a Ginobili type.
Ginobili, yeah.
Right? Like someone that he makes amazing passes.
Yeah, because the way his pacing is more like Ginobili more than
I
Harden.
would think so. Yeah.
Harden was really explosive and athletic back when he was on OKC coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Manu had a little explosion when he would leap.
He has some posters. Manu did.
Like so.
Yeah.
But he played more at a pace.
Yeah.
Harden.
On the ground.
Durant and Westbrook, they was gunners. Like they was going. They was going.
Yeah.
So they was playing really fast. Whereas he is more like Ginobili, kind of paces himself.
Yeah.
Which
he
I
thinks
think that's
the game
more like,
a lot.
That's that international game though.
Yeah.
They're really paid. Look at Jokic, look at Doncic.
Yeah.
Giannis is he's the Greek freak for a reason. So like he obviously is a one-off.
Yeah, he's just an athletic phenomenon. Yeah.
He's not human. But most of these European players and they play really paced.
Yeah.
And so he kind of does that, which is good because they're athletic. They run.
Yeah.
So he kind of brings a little different dimension, which coming off the bench would be good.
I continue to say, like, this has been my thing the whole year is why aren't they and it's I think it's their biggest plus though, like is that 5-man lineup.
Of course.
Like when you go through the
game like that.
when you go to rotations on their minutes page, it's their most run lineup and it's a high plus. Like it's just the most effective one.
Of course.
There's another one that I like, a lineup in
those
there.
Minutes.
Yeah,
you can just
for sure.
bring him off the bench to start the game and then stagger him with that lineup
and finish
and definitely finish the last 7 to 8 minutes with that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. He's an insanely smart player. He's a great sideline out of bounds passer.
Amazing.
Yeah, like inbounding the ball.
His
he's
basketball
incredible.
IQ was great.
Yeah.
The way he plays basketball, like I've been a fan since his rookie year.
Yeah, me too.
Like a genuine fan. Same with Shea. I've been a fan of Shea since his second year in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this kid gonna be special one day. Like, even if the Clippers had kept him, I still think he wouldn't be what he is right now. Him coming to OKC, being under Chris Paul, I feel like that leadership there was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then having a young team with him and Chris Paul just being just a teacher.
Yeah.
And really understanding that he was kind of on the end of his last legs of his career. And he's like, all right, I just got to be a teacher. I don't have to carry the load.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he stepped up in the playoffs and they kind of carry them a little bit. But that's when you started seeing, damn, these young boys, they're gonna be good. Yeah. They're gonna be all right when he leaves.
Yeah. That's interesting because I thought that he was a good player. I never thought he was gonna be this.
No, I didn't think he was gonna be.
I never thought he was gonna be this.
I never thought he would be a 30-point per game player.
I didn't even think he'd be like a 25-point per game guy. I thought he'd be like a 20-point per game dude.
He had a couple games and on the Clippers where I was just like, hey, that boy right there. Because remember, he started off being just a point guard.
He was like skinny.
So
skinny.
He's pretty strong. Like he's lean. But he has like muscle in the right places. Like he has very strong core. Yeah. So he can move people. He knows how to play ball, man. That boy, he uses his body properly. He has a very high IQ. Like I said, he started as a point guard, like a natural point. He wasn't scoring.
And when you think about Shea, do you think of him as a ball hog? No, right? Neither do I. This is interesting. Well, I don't have the usage for you, but I do have something interesting. This is isolation frequency. Okay, so how often does this person isolate?
Probably like 40% of the game.
Well, no, it's not that high. So James Harden right now leads the league in frequency. He's at 25%.
I feel like he always does.
I went and looked back, and he's either like 1 or 2 for like the last since MVP year.
Same thing with turnovers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So and when you have the ball a lot,
I was about to say he has one of the highest usages, and that's what I'm saying.
So when you think high ISO guys in the league, give me like 3 names that come to mind.
Kyrie, Luka, Harden.
That's a great 3, and I would have said Kyrie as well. Tatum's in here, so I have Harden.
Oh yeah, Tatum. I didn't even think about Tatum.
So in order by highest frequency, we have Harden, Tatum, Luka. No surprises.
Not at all.
And then Shea is right under those guys. Yeah, he's 21.8 now. Think about it. He does isolate. He likes to kind of get his own.
When you're the guy.
For sure. But he is such a team player. Now, the reason it looks so good too is compared to those guys, he's scoring at 56% of frequency. Yeah. So basically, 56% of the time that he isolates, he scores.
Yeah.
Now, the next guy ahead of him or behind him is Luka, which is 49%. I'm not going to run through all those numbers, but basically Shea is 7% higher than Luka.
But he's the only one
and
that
he's
scores
less
more
than
half of his
ISO
attempts. And he's 4th on that list.
Yeah. And it's interesting, though, because when you think about Shea, you think, he's a team player.
His efficiency rating must be through the roof.
Oh, I got that for you as well. So MVP Harden, right? Mm-hmm. Scoring frequency in isolation, 51%.
Damn.
So it's lower than Shea's at 56. That was MVP Harden.
About 30.
His isolation frequency was like 45%. He was like isolating like 50% of the time. But, less than Shea scoring frequency wise. So Shea is a monster.
He's an
efficient motherfucker. Yes.
Efficient.
Super efficient. And now.
And that boy from the mid-range, boy.
That's where I'm getting you.
That's my game right there, the midi.
And that's where I wanted to show you something.
Those are a lot of my favorite players. DeMar, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite kind of players. And they play defense.
Give me 3 guys that come to mind all time. That come to mind mid-range monsters. 3 all time.
Duncan, Kobe, and Mike.
Okay. DeRozan. Have him in there as well.
DeRozan. Yeah. I would have
thought
about all time. Kawhi, yeah.
Kawhi, he gets lost in that mix,
DeRozan
man.
might be he's top 3 for sure.
So I got something for you. Okay. It took me some time to find this. So 05-06 Kobe was arguably his best individual season, technically, coming from the points per game and just usage.
I thought it was
05-06. That was the 81-point game season.
I thought it was 06-07. That's my fault.
I always thought it was 06-07. And I went back and I realized it was the year before. So 35.4 points per game. That was his highest scoring average. Yeah. And that was 05-06. So 42.4% from the mid-range. Okay. That was his, less space, bad team.
That was when
different
Kobe
era.
Was just like Kobe literally said, I think,
fuck everyone. I
think he literally said it in the
he did
on the live TV.
He did. And and we look at that, right? So keep that in mind. 42.4% from the mid range. Okay, now we look at DeRozan. Arguably his best season was his first year in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I looked at the kind of the numbers and
arguably for sure.
Arguably, yeah. I remember the first year in Chicago, we were like, man, the Bulls paid him what? And then he just went off.
He got like
20. They got 27.
Yeah, 27.
He was 20, something like that.
That was 27,
so,
28.
Yeah, good head. Pause. So DeRozan, that season, 42.5, 0.1 higher than Kobe, whatever. We go to Kawhi's 1920 season, 42.9%. Mid-range killer. The 1920 was the Clipper year. He was on the Clippers at that point. Yeah, and then my next person that comes to mind, obviously, is Jordan.
Yeah.
And sadly, on NBA.com, they only have 96-97 as far back as you can get with the shooting splits.
Because the year before was arguably his best year.
I was gonna look for 1988 Jordan.
Oh, when he was just
which was just a scoring machine. So,
yeah.
But he developed like the post game.
Yeah, so he was working on a lot more. Than midi.
So, but I couldn't get it. There's just no advanced shooting stats on NBA.com for that, sadly. But so I got 96-97. I'll work with that. That's fine.
Yeah, that's not a bad Jordan year.
48.9 from the mid, which is higher than all these guys I've talked about.
That's Jordan.
48.9.
That's Jordan.
We're looking at Shea, 49% from the mid range. So he's just this season. I'm not comparing Shea to Kobe to Jordan.
No, of course not.
I posted that on my Instagram. Some people were like, you're taking it too far. But all I wanted to say was this season, specifically,
people don't understand.
He is literally in the conversation with these guys this season as a scorer.
Just like, sadly, no one gets enough credit until they win a chip.
Yeah.
He's not going to get the credit.
I think that when guys do it in small market teams,
he's definitely not going to get the credit. It's
like hard for a lot of people to appreciate. Not everyone has league pass. You got to kind of go on Streamcast or whatever. Yeah. But I know what you're saying. Like sometimes it's like, yeah, you did that, but
he's not KD, so no one's going to watch OKC.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they're still number 1, number 2 in the top 2 team in the West.
I think he's the best guard in the NBA this season.
That's a hot take.
And it's a hot take.
That's a very
it
hot
might be
take.
a hot take.
That is
It might be a hot take, but
and I agree with it.
But let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, Steph is like the only person that I would like give into. If someone says no, Steph,
That's off
I understand.
That's off a legacy.
He's just puts this team on his back like every season. Steph is just he's the guy. You know, he's the man. But what I see from Shea, man, you know, defensively, he was leading the league in steals. I don't know if he still does, but he was like not too long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Like, he had like 2 points.
He was like at 2.3 or something crazy like that. So he was leading the league in steals. He's probably leading the league in mid-range percentage, efficiency, deflections. I think he was number 1 in deflections or number 2. But you know, like the dude is just. I haven't seen anything like this since. Yeah,
boy is special, man. I just watched him. I'm just like something about this kid, you know.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, the guy who put me on Shea was Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless.
Really?
Yeah, he had mentioned something about Shea one day, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? And so I went and looked him up, and I was watching. I was like, damn, I like his game. Like he knows how to play the game. Like he's really young, but his IQ was like very visible.
Yeah,
and as a point
Kentucky,
a backup, a backup point guard. You know, he wasn't afraid of nobody.
Mm-hmm.
He had that dog in him, and he would guard.
Definitely has that dog in him.
And remember, he came up under Pat Bev, so he can guard.
Yeah.
So Pat Bev gave him a little bit of tips and you know how to be a little bit more hard nosed. And so watching him do that, and he was more of a passer back then. He was more of a passer than a scorer, obviously being the young guy coming in. So watching him like distribute the ball and do the sort of things he was doing, and he had some high scoring games with them, and he just showed flashes.
Yeah, and he does it without shooting threes. Like this dude.
Yeah.
I wanted to take down the percentage of his field goal attempts. 83% of his field goal attempts are 2-pointers. 83% of them.
We're playing like me.
That's like center stuff.
We're playing like me.
Like, it's crazy.
He was probably one of those kids who was
crazy.
Really big, and then he was trained as a big guy.
It's so hard to guard a guy like that. Like, he gets downhill. He's a great finisher. So you have
His change of pace is great.
Yes. How many snatchbacks do you see him make? And dudes just keep going.
He'll start so slow, quick ass step, and then snatch.
Yes.
And then he'll go the other way, stop, pull up.
Yes.
Or he'll stop, had you pumped up, then boom, step through. Like,
yes.
Bro, I'm telling you, like watching Shea play basketball is a work of art.
He is such a throwback player.
That's why I love it.
Right? Like, he doesn't worry about the three. Yeah. If you leave him to shoot it, he will. Yeah. And he will make you pay.
Give him like 3-4 more years. He's gonna be top 5. Like, and the people gonna talk about him.
That's
it. I'm talking about undebatable.
Yeah.
Undebatable top 5.
Well, Shea made first team All NBA last year. So technically
he's still not gonna get his respect.
Yeah.
Until he shows something. Like, he gotta get a couple more All-Stars. You gotta get them boys to the Western Conference maybe at least twice.
Yeah.
Get them to the final. Like, make some noise, and then people are gonna start getting the respect that he deserves to get.
Yeah, they've made regular season noise. Now they got to make some playoff noise.
And
and I wanted to ask you before we move on to the next team.
Yeah.
We had this conversation, and it was where I asked you, I said, do you think that they can actually get out of the West this season? And I told you the only thing stopping me from making that pick is timing. Like, I just don't think that they're battle tested. And you compared it to the Heat. Because I didn't expect, obviously, the Heat to do what they did, but they were. They have championship coach.
It's hard. It's hard to.
They've done it, but they've been there before.
Or I could also put it to look at the old OKC. Yeah, they had a little bit more size.
Yeah.
They were really young and they didn't have no championship experience.
Yeah.
Scott Brooks had no championship.
So do you think OKC is gonna get out of the West?
The way that they play, because again, you had Dort, you had Shea in that playoff with Chris Paul. They had a little taste of it. Yeah. And everyone says the bubble was the hardest thing to do because of the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
And what non-basketball players and people who never really dealt with mental issues like that, they don't understand that basketball, all sports, they're 90% mental. So if you're not there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to perform.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah.
So you had to be locked in that bubble. And for those young dudes to take the Rocket, was it the Rocket? No. It was the Rockets, wasn't it?
That was I think that was a 7-game series.
They had them boys on there. Yeah. They kind of had a taste of it, right?
They had a taste of it, yeah.
And so Shea grew up under CP.
That's a good point. He grew
up under Pat Bev, so he got a little bit of dog in him. He's showing that right now.
Yeah,
he's not afraid of nobody. None of them boys are afraid of nobody.
Yeah,
it's rare for a young team to really not back away from anyone. Like they don't see anyone as like, oh, look, it's Steph Curry. Oh, it's LeBron. Like they're so like, nah, like. Like you just like me. You're a man. You could bleed the same way I can bleed. Like, I'm gonna go out here and whip your ass.
I don't think I bleed the same as LeBron, but that's
I don't think LeBron bleeds. I think the blood that we've seen from LeBron is fake. I just feel
it's like fake. Yeah.
Yeah. He puts that there just so people think he's human.
Yeah.
He's
before my OKC friends, they have a pod. I shout them out every time I talk about OKC, but it's called The Last Storm. But
shout out The Last Storm.
Yeah, it's a dope name.
It's a fire name.
Now, I don't want to let it escape me before we move on. Cason Wallace, who was on Kentucky. Was it Kentucky or was it UCLA? I don't remember now at the top of my head. But 19, rookie this season.
19, I think.
I'm not no, I think he was 11th pick or something. Oh, you're talking about the jersey number.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I definitely don't remember the jersey number. But that dude is one of the best three-point shooters.
I say he came out
in the league right now.
The bench the other night. I forgot against what team. He was lighting them up.
And they'll mix him in. He'll play crunch time as well.
Yeah, he was lighting them up.
Yeah, and that's another rookie on
like
on
4 or 5 threes that game.
Yeah, and we didn't mention
is this kid.
Yeah, and he's so good. Two-way player also. But Gordon Hayward got traded to this team. And we didn't even mention that,
bro, because it was such a quiet trade.
It was a very quiet trade.
It was such
a shout out to Charlotte for getting what they got for Gordon Hayward, because that was a guy that everyone always talked about. They're never going to be able to trade that contract, whatever.
I mean,
he's always hurt and he's super paid. And they get Trey Mann, they get Davis Bertans, they get
Davis Bertans was a good one for them.
Yeah, they got Micic, and they got a couple of second-round picks.
They got some picks.
That's really good.
And nowadays, second-round picks are like, it's almost like the NFL. Second-round picks are still good because the talent level nowadays is crazy, and in the developmental leagues that we have, like it's just throw them in the G League.
Yeah. The only thing is, will the Hornets pick correctly?
Oh, we know. MJ can hoop, but that boy cannot manage.